Alexandra, where are you?
At the moment, I'm in the Netherlands. I'm traveling between France and the Netherlands and Germany. That's where my family is, where I've got work, so I'm still traveling.
Wow. So you can do that there then, obviously.
Yes, well, I've got reasons also to travel, yeah, that is possible. Trains are still running.
Good, 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 good. So I'll start off here with a little introduction. I see that we are live and everything seems to be working okay. So I am so excited to have you all here. I'm Kate Kunkel, Brain Health Mentor, and I'm the creator of this series of educational events and courses that we call Brain Health Matters. And today I'm so excited. Alexandra and I have been communicating for some time now about our work together, and she is an international mediator and intuitive life and healing coach. Alexandra has worked as an interpreter, a conflict mediator, and intercultural communication course. So before, and by the time she got through all of that, she discovered the healing properties of animals in the inner conflict coaching process. I am so excited to talk about this because I'm a firm believer that we can do so much for ourselves with our animals and for them. Welcome, Alexandra.
Thank you so much for creating this space, Kate. Great to be here.
So anybody who's joined us, please give us a little shout out, a little love sign or thing, so we can acknowledge you and thank you for taking your time to join us here, because everybody's got a lot on their plates, but this is the space to be educated, to be comforted, to be uplifted, and to have some fun. So Alexandra, you are a specialist in conflict resolution. Now, we're all about brain health. So how would you say conflict fits into the puzzle of the development of brain issues?
Yes, that's a very interesting question because, well, I would love to share something with you about my inner journey. I think that's quite important just to understand how I got to this point and to understand what conflicts have got to do with brain health and inner conflicts. So, well, back in the 80s, I started my studies, international relations. I had always been so much on international contacts. I came from an international family and I loved to connect people with each other. I just loved, translating, going from one culture into the other. That was something which really gave me lots of positive energy. So I studied international relations. I worked for some NGOs, just connecting cultures, people with, just with cultural misunderstandings in teams, in companies and so on. I was a consultant. And I just love doing that. But what I did notice, if there had been a conflict in a team or between people or just in a relationship, client, customer, let's say manufacturer and so on, that always been a sort of situation of the same conflict coming back every time again, researching every time again, the same sort of conflict. And what I did notice is often that these problems were related to inner conflicts of the person. So in a way, their customer or their partner or their team member was in a way a sort of mirror, functioned as a sort of mirror for their own development. So what you do see, and maybe if you think about it yourself, very often you get the same sort of patterns coming back in your life. It starts with your childhood, your system. Well, what is your system? These are your parents, your grandparents. There's always something passed on to the children. Of course, we must admit every parent means the best. He does his best in his own way for his own children. But there's also always something unresolved which comes back in a system which is passed on to the next generation. This can be an idea, a feeling of a burden from the past, like war, crisis, a lack of love, lack of affection, which you pass on, this sort of frustration you pass on to your children, and your child will take that with him or her into his professional life, into his relationship, and into his further life as well, into his own development. So it's so essential to analyze those blind spots, I call them, and see what really blocks you, because every person has got something maybe to heal from the past.
I have to
That's
step in here for a moment. I'm just gonna have to comment on this because what you're
yeah,
saying is hitting me like boom, because my father grew up in World War II Germany and the post-war starvation period. He has a lot of hang-ups, and I would say now we would call it PTSD.
yeah,
But I see myself now as I get older and I see the things that are happening in the planet, on the planet now. I see myself picking up my dad's attitude towards conflict, towards control issues. I see that happening. And I always like to say I'm nothing like my father, but I'm exactly like my father. You know, there are so many things. So I can see what you're saying, that those ways of dealing with things, those historical, maybe even genetic things that are passed on from our parents show up in the way we deal with people every day.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And these are really patterns and thought process we are not aware of. I just know that myself, I know about other people in companies, they always come back, this sort of patterns. And what I did notice is I've been around horses all my life, but horses immediately detect your blind spots. They immediately detect what needs to be healed in you, inside you, and in your system to be really your authentic power. And this is maybe something I need to explain to you, because that was something I noticed during a horse coaching congress, which took place here in Europe, in Germany. That's where I went to, because I'd always been fascinated by horses. I always had my own horse and I went riding. And I felt also when you feel low and a bit depressed, you feel so much better once you've been around horses or any other
Mm-hmm.
animal. It gives you so much positive. But not only that, during this horse coaching congress, I noticed that they can really solve conflicts with their body language, with their healing powers. They show you in a session, so that was a sort of test session they did with me, that at the moment I was really my authentic self and I dared to be vulnerable and show my real, both my sides, my strong side, my authentic side, and my side I was maybe afraid of. The horse would come towards me. Was this not the case, they would take really a distance from me. So it already starts with this sort of body language, but it goes much further than that. When you're in a session, they will also show you what needs to be healed in your system. So they will
The horses
suddenly
do?
create a sort of tableau vivant.
So the horses
They will suddenly
do
create,
this? The horses
yeah,
show you what? Ah,
they will show you suddenly. So when you take a place in the field, they walk freely around you like a herd. It's the survival of the herd they in fact working on, because you make part of their herd at that specific moment. So they will show you what needs to be healed, and they need to put every horse or every human being in their authentic power to be able to make part of that herd and to be there for the survival of the herd. This means you have to be in your authentic power and you need to fulfill a role. You've got a place in your life. Everybody got a place in this life, but you need to take that place and also fulfill your mission, your soul mission in life. And this is exactly what horses transmit to us as a message. They will show you, just give you a little example. For example, I had a person, let's call her Karen. She was in the field, she had really self-confidence issues. And the horses would immediately stand in a way like representing a sort of theater play, representing her family, her system, which was at that moment, she immediately recognized her mother, who was at a real distance in her body language. The horse really took this very heavy body language. Her mother had been very depressed. So she had always carried that burden of taking responsibility for her mother, all the time taking care of her mother, as if she was really there to like a sort of mother figure for a mother, which was not her place, of course. It's important to care for your parents, but her place was also take care of herself. And that's what she had forgotten. So these horses in this scene, one was the mother, one was the father, was very close to her, also stood very close to her, representing her father. She immediately recognized this. And at the same time, she felt this heaviness of not having found her own heart, her own life, her own destiny, her own unique life path. And that's what we worked on in this session. So at the moment, she had made again this balance with her mother, giving back the burden, which was in fact not hers, because that is important. This was her mother's. She gave back with love. I've carried it with love. You have to make the symbolic, energetic movement, inside movement, to create a new balance. And her mother accepted at the moment she did this, the horse representing her mother just relaxed suddenly. There was something, you just felt it in the whole dynamics.
Wow.
There was a relaxation whole scene, and she also felt relieved because in a way her mother was there. She even at that moment she even felt we even smelled the perfume of her mother. It was incredible.
Oh
It's
my goodness.
all energy.
So by
much
doing, so I'm sorry, so by doing this, by connecting with this purpose or not purpose, in this case being the mom figure for your mom, you're boosting your own mental health, which obviously is going to give you long-term better health, body and brain.
Exactly, because every trauma is stocked in your body. It's a sort of body wisdom you need to access somehow to be able to create that new balance. But we have forgotten about this in our society. We got stuck in our minds, which is okay at a certain point, but the movement needs to go like this, from the gut feeling, the body wisdom, to the heart, and then to the mind. So what the gut feeling senses, the heart focuses on, and the mind will materialize, will create in this world. So this is in fact the movement which the horses also show us. Go to your body wisdom. What kind of trauma is stocked in your body, in your intuition, in your inner, well, let's say higher knowing, and create that balance. And so this is the way we can solve trauma as well. Yeah.
Right. So we often think of this psychological weight, heaviness, as being just something for our mental health. But when you talked about the gut and the heart and everything, it also really impacts our physical health. We know stress does. So this is a kind of stress. So it would make perfect sense then that by relieving that, you're going to make your whole system more efficient and healthier.
Exactly. When we create a more holistic approach to physical problems and mental problems, then we can solve so much more in this society and problem-wise. People really suffer from the fact that we only look at the physical side of a problem, but you know as well, there's so much behind it. And in general, it's trauma or things which need to be seen. And horses are in fact materialized energy of the things we do not want to see or have not seen so far, or things we have not been aware of. And they always feel what needs to be seen at this specific moment. So at the present, it's important to live in the present, and that is what horses do.
Horses
in the present.
All animals. Yeah. I know that my cats, we have 4 rescue cats here, and just being around them can make my whole day different. Yes, they're aggravating sometimes because they fight, but the bottom line is they are in the now. So they can have their fight, and then the next minute one of them's curled up with me purring. And I think that's an important thing for all of us to remember, that stuff happens, we have conflicts, we have problems, but that doesn't mean we have to carry them in us every minute, because that just manifests in all kinds of problems.
Exactly. So it's really an art in a way to let go
Yes.
of wounds from the past, let go of convictions which are not yours. So often people do not feel good enough in life. They don't say it, but they wear a mask and they cannot be authentic because they are afraid of being hurt. And that is really moment, I think, our challenge also with COVID and so on. We need to find our inner compass, our authentic power, and get healed from the past. So if you're not healed from the past and you constantly get stuck in these convictions which are not yours, you cannot take the challenge of being yourself and really leading the life which is yours. You will lead the life of somebody else's. And it's also in authority. Look, what is your truth? What is your truth? It's not necessarily the truth of your parents or of your colleague or your friend. What is your truth? That can be
Or your
totally a different
society.
truth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I or
exactly.
your society, yeah. So I want to make sure I get to this because we have only a few more minutes, but Alexandra, you're a best-selling author. Yay! Tell us about your book. Will it help us with our brains?
Yes, yes, it does in a way, because I've always been a person of the brain. Let's be honest, I love to do my studies, I love theories, and I love to plan out things. I just loved it. I also love music and dancing, and that was the creative part of mine. But what I noticed was, in fact, during my work, is that we're too much in the mind, and so many problems, especially now, can be healed by this body wisdom. So what I'm talking about I'm writing about in this book is really, I'm writing about these sessions. And every session with the horses is different. Every person is different, always react differently. And that is so fascinating. You see the outcome of the session. You see what happens. You see how the person reacts and the horses, and what the results are at the end. So this can be trauma, lack of self-confidence, relationship problems, but all these problems, what they have in common and what the horses tell us, and that's what I describe in this book, that's the universal language, that is, go back to yourself. That's where it all starts. Self-love is the key to
Oh,
everything. If we start to build self-love and start to embrace our light but also dark sides, we are really, and our vulnerable sides, we are really on the right path. That is what they tell us. And
so this,
I
so
think this,
this is like case histories that you've got in this book then. So we can read about the problems and how the horses helped. Oh, I can't wait. I meant to get it before and I've just been so busy with a new course that I forgot, but I am going to get this
yeah,
book myself because I love animals stories of animals, obviously, but also transformation. And obviously that's what you've been able to convey in this. How do we get your book?
yes. Also, there, sorry, I forgot to mention what I'm also talking about is universal language. As I've always been very busy with languages, I have
Ah,
done several countries. That's important to mention. So this also connects the different cultures.
ah.
That's something we all have in. So I show the cultural differences, of course, but also the universal part we all have in common. Of course, this whole crisis we have in common. We have the same problem. What do we want in life? And that is what you see also now in this book and with the horses. Do we prefer technology over humanity, human values? Do we prefer really prioritize, let's say, the mind over feelings and heart energy? So that is in fact the message a bit of the book. So that's why
Perfect.
I underlined this. People can get it from Amazon. So it's called the Universal Language of Nature,
Okay.
a new way of conflict resolution, authentic leadership, and otherwise on my via me as possible if they want a signed copy,
Sure. Okay.
elevate.bi Sitch. So people contact me for sessions online, which I also do online
You do with
with
the
the
horses?
horses, and I do
With the
for
horses?
each one.
That's so fascinating. That's
Yeah,
amazing that you can do it online. We are just about out of time. So I will get those. I would like you to just send me those exact URLs so that I can put them in the comments when I put this up on this permalink. Alexandra, this was fascinating. I had no idea you could do this with the animals remotely. That's amazing.
Yes, well, there's so much to discover, like you do with brain health and dementia. There is so much we can discover in these times with the help of nature, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate of getting out in nature. I tell people all the time, go out barefoot, hug a tree, whatever you can do, hug a horse. I was trying to I have a photograph of me with some wild horses in Nevada. I was in a park and I had a drink, and there was this little foal and mama, and the foal was really curious about me, and mama and papa were a little bit suspicious, but I just sat on my haunches, and I had this blueberry smoothie of all things. And I put a little bit of the blueberry smoothie in the cap, and I just held it out, and I just kept my head down, and I had the cup top, and this little foal came up and started licking the blueberry smoothie. And Mama was back there, and she's watching. And I know, they're big. If they didn't like what I was doing, I would have known all about it. But they could see I was not dangerous at all, and I wasn't going to hurt the baby. And pretty soon, Papa, who was in the background, he started with the woof, woof, and calling them, and then they ran away. But Alexandra, that was the most powerful moment of my life, to be with those wild horses and feel that energy. I will never forget it, ever.
Yeah, but Kate, that was also a beautiful sign for you that you were in your authentic power. The fact they came towards you said something about you in that specific moment. You were really yourself.
Oh,
and that's important.
Absolutely. For the horses, absolutely. And for our brains and for our lives. Alexandra, thank you so much. I'm so honored that you took the time to be with us, and I'll get all those links posted so we make sure that people can learn more about you, and who knows, maybe they can get a session with a horse. Thank you again, my dear.
So much, Kate. Lovely. Thank you.